Welcome to the Permission Slip podcast, where I, empowerment coach, mindset expert, and holistic nutritionist Carmen share with you the tools, conversations, and resources you need to write your own permission slip, take massive action, and become obsessed with your own life. Let's get started. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Permission Slip podcast. So we are continuing to dive into our series, Best Self 2024, and this is part 3. So if you missed part 1 and part 2, I highly encourage you to go back and to listen to those episodes before you dive into this one. Although this episode is one I'm going to encourage you to save, to share, to come back to when it's mid-year and you just want to check in with yourself. This reminder from this episode is just going to be most likely what you need. I know it's a consistent reminder for me, especially in seasons of fullness. So what are we talking about here? Well, have you ever had a really productive, high vibe day? You got a lot accomplished. Everything on your to-do list was accomplished. There was only a few little times where, your energy went down a little bit, and you get home and you sit on the couch and you're just like, ah. And then someone asks you a really simple question like, what do you want to eat for dinner? Or where do you want to go this weekend? And you're just like, oh, you just don't want to answer any more questions. I don't care. You decide. I have no idea. I don't want to make any more decisions. I know I'm over here raising my hand. Or have you ever hit that 3:30 mark and there's a few more decisions that need to be made for your day, and you just feel inside of you this level of overwhelm happening? You feel like you're really going into activating your nervous system, that fight or flight system, and you just want to throw in the towel. It's just where you want to be like, I just want to quiet quit right here. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to procrastinate on this. I can't make any more decisions. So yes, in this episode, we are talking about how to eliminate decision fatigue and free up your mind so that you really can begin curating and cultivating and expanding your vision for your life every day. And that includes operating as your highest self. And we all know that we're not operating as our highest self when we're in decision fatigue. Now, decision fatigue occurs due to the mental exhaustion that we face from having to make too many decisions. And when I think about this, I think about what are the effects of decision fatigue? And the one thing that I think about is, how does it affect my flow? Because part of operating as our best self requires to continually develop the skill of focus, specifically the type of intense focus that psychologists call flow. Now, flow can be defined as pure absorption in what you're doing. So you're using as many of your senses as possible, just like I talk about my definition of presence, using as many senses as possible in that very moment, not task switching, not allowing your brain to go from one thing to the next, just like you do on your computer with all the open tabs. And you know what I found in my own life and within my coaching practice, that the number one thing that keeps you out of flow, not to mention exhausting your willpower and draining your momentum to your vision, is making a lot of decisions. Even more specifically, second guessing your own decision making and then allowing the decisions that you need to make to stack up. On the other hand, when you're in flow, your mind is freed up from decision making. When you free up your mind, your thinking goes to a higher level. You'll have greater belief in yourself, more confidence. You'll entertain new and better thoughts. You'll have the time and energy to focus on your own self-awareness and self-improvement and really honing in the gifts that are yours. You'll have time to work on innovating and expanding your vision or your services. You'll have time for friends and family and fun. That's what happens when you free up your mind. So if decision fatigue drains our willpower and our momentum, wouldn't you think that we would want to do absolutely everything each and every day to not have to make so many decisions. Because really, what happens is even the most intelligent people, even just you and I, we become mentally exhausted and each decision becomes harder for us. That's why at the end of the day, if someone asks you, what would you like to do have for dinner? You just feel like you're mentally exhausted and you don't want to answer that question where it could be very simple, just checking in with yourself. I want to make Mexican or I want to have a big ass salad for dinner. Like, yeah, I want to grill for dinner. You would know. Because here's the thing, the brain eventually looks for shortcuts in order to try to get around this decision fatigue, which ultimately leads to poor decision making. Or again, if you're like me, maybe I won't make the decision. I'll just quit on whatever I'm doing. And then the decisions stack up. And I have made a commitment to myself over the past few years to reduce and eliminate the number of decisions that I have to make each and every day. And I want to share with you these 6 steps so you can start doing that as well. And I'm going to tell them to you quick, and I want you to implement them right away because these are going to be so helpful, especially in seasons of fullness, like right now with family and friends and visiting and going here and parties and all of these things that we want to be doing and that are on our heart, not to mention the things that we need to say no to. So, the first step is to become self aware. And this is usually the first step in any growth or change or anything that you want to do to shift in your life. So, what I want you to do is just have a little notepad or have the notes app open on your phone and make notes periodically throughout the day of all the decisions that been making, maybe every 2 hours, and make a note of your mental capacity. If you're thinking, I don't really make that many decisions, you actually do. I know when I wake up first thing in the morning, I go in the bathroom and I do my morning rituals, and I could be asking myself, should I floss my teeth today? How do I want to apply the coconut oil onto my body? Later in the day, what do I want to have for breakfast? What am I going to wear today? How am I going to do my makeup today? Do I want to curl my hair? Do I want to wear it straight? Who am I going to call today? Where do I want to go for a walk today? What do I want to do for my workout today? Do you see how all of these things are actually decisions? And then you have bigger decisions too. Maybe they're investments in yourself or investments in your business where you're going to go on vacation, a conversation that you've been putting off that you need to have. All of these things can really build up if we're not making the decisions right away, causing our mind not to be free. When our mind is not free, again, we can't be in that flow state and we're not going to be operating as our highest self. So track for a couple of days. That's step 1 of the 6 steps. The second step is intentionally start limiting things. What do I mean by that? Start developing disciplines and systems. Now, I was just sharing with you, am I going to floss my teeth? What am I going to have for breakfast? All of these things. What am I going to wear? But you know what? Most of those things I already have decided because I have a discipline around them and I have a system for them. So in the morning, I do the same morning rituals. In the evening, I do the same evening rituals. Right now, I eat the same exact breakfast every day. Right now, I like to wear the same outfit every day, and I make sure that it's ready on the weekend. All of these things, I don't have to decide what I'm going to do. And then I've just been curling my hair or curling it and wearing a hat, doing my makeup the same, just a fresh, glowy look. So I don't have to decide. Because one thing that I realized recently, well, not recently, a couple of years ago, was that I was second guessing all of the decisions I would make. What underwear do I want to wear today? And I would pick one and then I'd go, oh no, I want to have these. And it's like, what if we went with our what if we went with our first option and we stopped second guessing ourselves and just made the decision? We'd have less decisions building up. So what can you intentionally limit in your life where you don't have to make the decision? You just decide that's how you're going to do it. And then every so often, maybe every month, you check in to see how that's going to work for you. For example, as part of my morning ritual, I used to always listen to a guided meditation. And earlier this year, I realized that, I'm really being called just to meditate and sit in stillness and silence instead. And so I made that change. I don't have to decide each and every day. I just do it. now. So I'm intentionally limiting things, and intentionally limiting other things as well can really help with your decision making. Like scrolling on social media, you're going to see way less ads. So you're going to have less to decide on what to buy. I don't know if you're like me, but you get things in the cart and then you don't buy them and you forget about them and then you want to go back to them. And all of that adds to your decision fatigue. Okay, the second thing, and this is one of the most important, is today, when you're done with this podcast, I want you to do a brain dump of all of the things that you need to make decisions on. And then I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Does this decision actually need to be made? And if it does need to be made, then continue on with these next couple of questions. Does it need to be made this week? And if it does need to be made this week, then ask yourself, does it need to be made by me? Now, this is an opportunity right here. This is an opportunity for growth where someone else could make this decision for you and you could delegate or ask for help. This is really big here because what I've come to find out is that really the need to make all of these decisions comes back to the need to control. And the need to control comes back to our need to feel safe because we mistakenly think that if we control everything, then we're going to be able to always feel safe. And that's one of our core human needs and desires. So going back to the brain dump, make sure you're asking for help. And if you do ask for help or delegate, ask early, ask often, and be specific, and set a stage for follow-up too if you need that. Now, if it doesn't need to be done this week, I want you to use planned procrastination, and I want you to plan it out for a future time. Now, this goes right into number 4, is figuring out the best time for you to make decisions. I know that my bandwidth is a lot larger earlier in the day. And so if I'm going to make important decisions, and they come up in the afternoon, I will use this idea of planned procrastination and I'll put it on my calendar. So it's no longer taking my bandwidth. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about the decision that I'm going to make or weighing it, but it's planned out on my calendar. And so I can still stay in flow. It's planned out. I'm not going to forget about it and I can move forward. Now, here's another one that's really big on asking for help. When we're making decisions, we're often asking ourselves the question, how? How am I going to do this? I need to make this decision, but how am I going to make all of these things happen? And if you find that you're asking yourself the question, how, I want you to sit down and I want you to ask this question instead. Who do I need to help me make this happen? And maybe you don't know right off someone that can help you, but you might know a resourced individual. Like I consider myself a super connector. So if you need help with someone and you need a connection to someone, go ahead and shoot me a DM. I am a super connector and I can connect you. But the question as we are up leveling our life, our business, our relationships, and more is not how anymore. We have the basic foundations built. In order to get to the next level, it's going to be who. Who do we need to help us get to the next level? And then the last thing, and one of the most important things, is restoration. And God really told me earlier this year is like, Carmen, it's not just about rest. You don't just need to sit down and relax. You need full restoration. Each and every week, you're showing up from a high place, doing this work of service. You need restoration. You need to do things that fulfill and fill back up your mind, your body, your spirit, and all of it. And you need to separate from any decision making, any work, anything like that. And you need the full restoration. So I promise you, if you do these things, you will have so much less decision fatigue and it's going to free your mind up. So then you can begin creatively cultivating and expanding your vision for your life from a flow state that will feel so darn good. So thank you so much for listening. And I'm so excited to dive in with you next week. Next week is going to be Best Self 2024 relationship style with your significant other because mine will be joining us on the podcast. Okay, I want to hear your takeaways. Shoot me a DM. Know that I am grateful for you, and save this episode. Share it with a friend too if you think it could help them. Have a blessed week ahead.